Good morning, everyone. This is archivist David Thomas speaking to you from the archive search room of Kresen Kernow once again on the second of my final 6 David's Dazzling documents. In 2022, Kresen Kernow acquired a remarkable collection of images from the estate of the late Janette Rosing of London, who was one of the leading photographic collectors in Great Britain. She was nationally known and indeed internationally known as a photographic consultant. And she wanted her collection of images to come to Cornwall, where she had a great love and affection for, developed over many years. On the table, there are 5 examples of her wonderful collection that came to us last year. I wanted to just say a little bit about them as we go through. The first picture is taken by a photographer called Linnaeus Tripe, who was actually a Plymouth-born boy, but he was one of the early pioneer photographers in Great Britain, and he worked for the East India Company, and he was invalided out of the East India Company in 1850. And he then returned to the East India Company in 1854. And while he was at home in this country, he took many remarkable views of the area around his native Plymouth and also East Cornwall. And this picture is of Port Eliot House and St. German's Church in around about 1853. And the mansion looks pretty spick and span, but the church is shown as it was before restoration. It's completely covered in ivy and in a very dilapidated state, but he's recorded it as it was before the Victorians, if you like, got at it and made it the building that it is today. A remarkable image from the 1850s in the second decade of Cornish photography. Not the oldest image. The oldest ones are 1841 for Cornwall, but this is about 1853. Now, every Cornish person, and that includes me, when they go out of Cornwall and they come back, they cross a famous object, which is the Royal Albert Bridge at Saltash, and you have a sense of coming home when you come home to Cornwall by train. And 4 of the images I'm about to show you now cover the story of the construction of the famous Royal Albert Bridge at Saltash. And this first picture is again by Linnaeus Tripe, probably in early part of 1854, and it shows the construction of some of the stone piers on the Devon bank of the River Tamar, and you can see the rural landscape behind that. But again, a remarkable image of the early stages of the building of that bridge. And then as we move on, by 1857, the stonework piers had been completed on both sides of the bridge, and the span, the great iron span on the Cornish side of the river had been erected. And this remarkable photograph taken by a chap called Robert Howlett shows the construction of the bridge almost nearing completion. You can see the Devonside span is floating on pontoons in the river, and then it was jacked up into position and the masonry built up underneath it to get it up to its present state of 100 feet above the river at high water level. A truly remarkable photograph. And then you also have this classic image with this round top, very popular in photographs around the 1850s and 1860s. The bridge is virtually finished. There's a few bits and pieces to be sorted out, but again, a relatively unknown view of the bridge around about just before it was opened in 1859. And then possibly one of my favourites is this view of the railway station at Saltash, just after the completion of the bridge. And if you look beyond the bridge, the Devon side of the Tamar, there's virtually no buildings at all. You've got open rural fields. Today, a lot of that is built on. But this picture is probably about 1860. It shows the railway station at Saltash and the light coloured paint on the bridge after it was completed. And you can also see the very early form of semaphore, banner signal there right at the end of the down platform of the station. A wonderful collection of pictures and just a taster of what the Rosing collection contains, which is currently being worked on and listed and catalogued. If you've never explored our photographic collections at Kresen Kernow, there is truly some remarkable stuff. We've probably got something coming up to 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 photographs in our collections. So do come and have a look sometime. Book in and make sure you're not disappointed, unable to get in, and we'd be very pleased to show you some of the great treasures of Kresen Kernow.